Welcome back to Brashenomics. I am Ben Brashen, and it's always fun to talk about the things that may be going wrong in your house, not because they are so scary, like Halloween costumes and things of that nature, but also because they can be fixed. I mean, there's certain things you can do to fix some of those dangerous pieces of your house that you may not see. There's another thing that can be fixed, or at least you can work to try to improve, and that is your financial plan and being able to actually use tools in order to create a financial plan. Bo Liu joins us, co-founder and CEO of Future Advisor, a 2-year-old startup that's been making quality financial advice accessible to everyone via free online software. Welcome, Bo. How are you?
Good. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. I'm actually excited to hear exactly what you guys are doing because there's a lot of stuff that can be done with software. There's a lot of stuff that really does take people.
Mm-hmm.
Help me understand a little bit about what is Future Advisor exactly.
Great. Future Advisor is an online web application that really acts as your financial advisor. So you remember that Matt talked earlier about how for real estate deals, it's the same amount of work, whether it's a 30,000 square foot place or a 1,000 square foot place, right? And the same thing is true in financial advice. So it's the same amount of work to manage a $1 billion portfolio as it is to manage a $1 million portfolio. So what happens is financial advisors tend to, go after the $1 billion portfolios because they make 1,000 times more money, right?
Sure.
For each of those clients. And so for the rest of us...
A lot of those $1 billion portfolios out there too.
Yeah, well, there are enough. And so for the rest of us, especially the young folks coming out of college, no one helps them because, I got $3,000 in my IRA and, the traditional 1% fee is enough to buy you 3 coffees, right?
Sure.
It's not worth anyone's time. And so we've created software that is free to use because instead of having a guy look over it, which takes a long time, the software looks over it for you and uses the algorithms of well-known personal finance best practices to say, well, given your unique situation, how could you do a little bit better? How can you set yourself off on the right foot? So we make the software delivered via futureadvisor.com that does this.
So it's more of it sounds to me like a starting point for people rather than the $1 million or $1 billion portfolio. This is kind of a jumping off point to where other people may not get any advice. This gives them a place where maybe they can then step into that world or make it to that world where a financial advisor who costs money makes sense.
Yes. What's interesting is there's a lot of academic evidence that shows that index investing, a term that we've all heard about, actually makes a lot of sense. And so if a financial advisor is going to charge you, 1% of your net worth, and let's say you even have that $500,000 minimum, right? If they're actually going to take $5,000 out of your retirement accounts every year, they'd better be doing work to justify that. And so what Future Advisor actually does is it says, look, this shouldn't be that expensive. It doesn't need to be that expensive. The information is already out there. It's already in many books. You can read about it, and the software just does it for you and applies it to your individual situation. So the software is free. If you want Future Advisor to actually manage your portfolio and trade on your behalf and manage your IRA and put money in the right place and do tax loss harvesting, then the product does charge a fee, but it charges a fee that's substantially lower than any financial advisor can.
So are there people on the back end? I mean, you can trust the software, but what if somebody wants somebody to hold their hand?
So there are people on the back end, but we joke internally that the company is half finance geeks and half engineers, and the engineers suck the brains out of the finance geeks and put it into software so that instead of doing a one-on-one call where in 1 hour a CFA can help one person, here in 1 hour a CFA can make the algorithm better and help literally tens of thousands of people at the same time.
So what about the emotional piece, though? Because we do a lot on this show with professionals and a lot of people who come in and they're talking about the actual, there's the emotional piece. The market goes down and now all of a sudden it's, oh man, the world is falling, sell everything. And people really can get caught up in that and lose a lot of money because they're buying and selling on emotional highs and lows, which has been proven that most people will buy high and sell low.
Very true, very true.
How do you guys account for that?
So we account for that by really education on the forefront, right? So if you don't talk about those things, which are going to happen to all of us in our long careers as we're investing in our 401ks and IRAs, if you don't talk about that at the beginning, when it happens, it's hard to talk people off the ledge because they're like, we never talked about this.
Right.
Why is this happening to me? I paid you so this doesn't happen to me, right? And so from the get-go, we say, look, you're in your 20s, like me, or so, in your 30s, and you're not going to need your 401k money for another 30 years. If it falls a little bit now, that's okay. Let's look at history and how if you had pulled your money out every time it had fallen, you'd end up with a much smaller nest egg than you would have if you just, to be honest, forgot about it. Let your financial advisor, whether it's Future Advisor or someone else, let them handle it, and they'll get you there. And if you stare at it every day, you're just putting yourself in an emotional straitjacket where, depending on what they say on the radio, about the markets today, you feel good or you feel bad. It doesn't really matter, right? You won't need that for another 3 decades.
Yeah, it's kind of like people who are buying and selling houses, and the housing market's down, but you're not selling your house
Exactly.
What's the process by which somebody works with Future Advisor?
It's very simple. You come to the website, you answer a couple of questions about yourself, your age, how much you make, when you want to retire, and then your things like your risk tolerance, how much risk are you willing to take, and then the software reads from your existing financial accounts detailed information about what you already have. So we use the same technology that Mint.com, if you guys have heard of Mint.com, uses to connect to your existing accounts and read data from them. And then in the third and final step, the software just proposes a set of changes that say, hey, if you trade this fund that you own for this one, you'll save a lot in fees, you'll be better diversified for your age and better protected from risk, and you'll be more tax efficient. These are all things that we could do better for ourselves, but it's hard to parse the 4,000 pages of tax regulation to figure out what to do. The software has parsed that for you and just tells you what to do.
So we're here with Bo Liu, co-founder with Future Advisor and FutureAdvisor.com. What are some of the biggest benefits to using this, and then who should sign up?
Yep. So the biggest benefits to using this is that most of us don't do a diligent enough job watching over our portfolios, and you need someone diligent to watch over it. And the only thing more diligent than a good financial advisor is a computer program who does it every second, right? And so the benefits are the program will watch over your investments and give you specific, actionable advice on how you can reduce your tax burden, on how you can invest in a more diversified and lower risk way, and how you can lower the fees that that Wall Street charges on your mutual funds and ETFs. There's actually a great study that the Government Accountability Office did that said, well, people say these things like 1% fees. So how big a deal is that? It turns out that if you pay a 1% fee and I pay no fee, or I pay 1% less than you, then when we both retire, you have 17% less money than me. So it's a fifth of your entire retirement gone to the folks at JP Morgan Chase or to the folks at Fidelity, all of the big banks, just based on these, seemingly small 1% fees compounding over our long careers. And so one of the major things that Future Advisor helps you with is helps you find lower fee funds that do the same things and perform just as well.
Now, is this something financial advisors use? I mean, do they have this type of software within the walls of their own business?
They do. This software has traditionally been available to financial advisors for decades, but it's always been deemed too hard to use. And so, your financial advisor acts as the layer between the software models in the background and you, the client. Well, we think that, especially with the advent of easier and easier to use software, there's no need for a human being to stand there. And, like Matt was saying, good financial advisors, should make money with which to feed their families. But financial advisors are expensive. So we're just giving people another option that says, hey, if you don't really need to talk to your financial advisor weekly over the phone, for which you should pay, then you might consider something a little cheaper. If you just want if you just want a company to take care of it for you and set it on autopilot and you to go do something else, then we can do that.
It sounds to me like you guys are filling the need for somebody who needs less service, but for the people who really want to be more involved and have a person at their beck and call, obviously this is not for them. So it really is for the person who wants to find something as a good starting point or feels that, this is the right thing for them, but not for everybody.
It's true. So the same analogy can be made for travel, right? If I buy a full-fledged travel package from a travel agent, and throughout the entire time, I know that if any small thing goes wrong, I can call them, right? But it's also going to be a lot more expensive. If I just want to go fly home and see grandma, I buy it on Amazon, or I buy it on Kayak, or I buy it on Orbitz, right? And there's no one to call, but that's okay.
Yeah, or Expedia. We'll stick local.
Yeah, stick local.
Bo, thanks so much for joining us. We do have to go to break. Again, Bo Liu with FutureService.com. Certainly a very interesting piece. I think could be extremely helpful for people, especially who, as you said, either getting started or just don't need the extra service. Having something in their back pocket to help them, I guess, play with the big boys. Hey, we do have to go to break. When we come back, all of our in-studio guests will join us along with more of Heather Moore. We'll be right back after this break.